What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk Strat stuff. As you may or may not know, this is the Stratocaster standard, the Indonesian one. We've done a few videos on this guitar already. I've had it for a little bit, so I thought I would give us kind of a goods and bads of this guitar after having it for a little while. When we took it out of the box, it was great, like really good. We already obviously put new pickups in it because that's what I do here at DylanTalksTone. So let's start with the goods of the guitar. Let's just get straight into it. Actually, before we do that, do me a favor and like and subscribe and do all the things that you normally do when you watch a YouTube video. You can click that little thing right down there, wherever it is, and you can go to DylanTalksTone and buy pickups and that kind of stuff, and you can subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's jump straight into this. So, good things about the guitar. Now, we changed out the pickups and we put a crazy pickguard on it just because we could, because we have a laser and we can make crazy colors and stuff. So that's fun. You know, we make these loaded pickguards and we put them in guitars, and we have regular colors and crazy colors and all that. So it was just fun to do. That being said, the pickups that came in it were actually pretty good. For this price point of guitar, I was actually pretty impressed with them. So if this is a guitar that you just want to buy and do nothing with, you could do that. I think the pickups are pretty good. I personally am going to make improvements in that area because, like I said, it's a thing for me. So that's what we did. So this has 500K CTS pots. It has our Hot 5 custom acrylic pickups in it. It has our Super 8 humbucker in clear and a new Oak Grigsby switch. And so it's all kind of hot rodded up. So that's pretty fun. So, you know, just because we can. The other good things about the guitar is the finish. And the fit and finish of the guitar is really good. The tuners are really good. They seem to be working perfectly. The finish on the neck is phenomenal. If you're a matte finish person especially, it's really good. Really smooth, doesn't feel cheap, really, really nice. The fitment as far as like the neck pocket and like the body and all that stuff, and the sanding and the finish and just the overall presentation of the guitar itself, really, really good. The plastics were nice. One of the other things too is, I know there was a lot of comparison, like you should just go get a Squire instead, but what I will say is the hardware, so like the screws and like even the metallurgy on the screws, like how cheap the screws are, the bridge, the saddles, quality pieces. Definitely a step up from the Squire stuff when it comes to the quality of the hardware itself. Really, really a nice guitar. I mean, I think Fender did a lot of things right with this instrument, and it's been great. There are a couple areas that kind of all inexpensive instruments sort of suffer from. If you've watched any of the PRS videos over the last few months about how they build guitars, both in the States and overseas, he talks a lot about the wood and the care that you put into drying the wood and the pre-build processes with the wood that goes into the guitar. Now, this is not talking about tone wood or anything like that. This is talking about like the actual structure of the instrument. And on an inexpensive guitar, sometimes there are compromises with that because it needs to be made more quickly, because it needs to be made more cheaply. This guitar is about the same when it comes to other inexpensive guitars, import guitars like this, where I ran into a couple of things after having it for a few weeks. So we're going to get into those right now. We should say that because we have lots of guitars around here, right? Obviously, that we are really careful with our humidity and our temperature here. So we have, normal temperature, living temperature in the house, 68 to 71 degrees, depending on the day or whatever. And we try to keep the humidity between 45 and 55%. Now it's in the winter time, we got forced air heat going, so we're closer to that 45, but still that should be fairly stable for most instruments. On some inexpensive instruments that don't have that kind of pre-build process in place that some more expensive guitars do because of the price and because of trying to build it to a price, we run into a couple of things. One of them is fret sprout. I didn't have it at first, but even with stable humidity in our home, I do have some. So we're gonna fix that today. The other thing that I have, let me see if I can put this next to my lavalier mic here. The nut is actually cut very well as far as the height and everything goes. And I didn't see this at first, but I think just the way things settled in, it just started to do it. So on the G string, I'm gonna put this next to my mic, see if you can hear this. We've got a little ringy buzz on that G string on the nut. So we're gonna go ahead and put this thing on the bench and fix up these couple little things. It won't take long. This is not super scary stuff. This is something that many inexpensive guitars go through. In fact, very expensive guitars can go through this too, these types of things when the seasons change. So I'm going to show you how we do it. The tools that we use are not expensive. This will be very simple to do. And so let's get it over on the bench and get this thing kind of up to 100%. All right, so what we're going to use is the StewMac, what is that, the 1175 file. I'll leave a link to this in the description. Now you can go to Harbor Freight and get, just a cheap file to do it, but the results will differ, okay? The fineness of this file is really cool. Those cheap ones are a lot coarser a lot of times, so you won't get that kind of custom shop finished feel. See how this side is flat, but it doesn't have any teeth on it, and then the other side has a radius to it that doesn't have any teeth on it. That's another thing that you don't get with a cheap file, and I'll show you how you use that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is basically we're just going to go up and down the neck and feel where we feel any sharpness. Now, not every fret has done this, but there have been a couple. The reason for that is on an inexpensive guitar, they don't go to this level of finishing, okay? What they'll typically do is there'll be a beam with a sanding or a file on it, and they will go down the edge like this, and that's basically it. They don't go to this next level of hand finishing. So we're gonna take this file, and let's go to this fret right here, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So feel that fret. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the fret and we're just going to go like that over the top and go like that over the top. That's all you need. And then we're going to take the flat end of the file and we're just going to feel that edge. And that's it. That's fixed. We're not talking about a ton of work. We're not talking about sanding on the fret a bunch. We're just talking about just a little bit of finish work. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all of these and show you just about how much time we take to do all of it. All right, so all totaled that took about 10 minutes to do, and you notice that I wasn't using any pressure, I wasn't going fast, I wasn't doing anything. We're not taking tons of material off, we're just trying to break those little edges off. The thing is that now if this shrinks at all, it's not going to do it anymore, right? So once it's ready and, you know, used to your environment, you probably won't ever have to do this again. It'll just be the one-time thing. But now we have nice smooth fret ends on this guitar, and it'll be totally cool. Now, the other thing we need to do is look at this nut. All right, before we go file it on a nut, I just want to make sure that maybe this is only just this tuner that's loose. Nope. Okay, so it is the nut. All right, so first things first, what I want to do is I just want to check this nut height really quick. You can use a feeler gauge to do this. I just have this handy dandy StewMac thing that I really like. All right, so we have enough room to do what we need to do here. Because here's what's happened. When you have a buzzy nut like that, two things can happen. One, there can be junk in there, so we're going to check that first. And we're just going to run the file through there real easy and just see if it cleans it out. If that's doesn't fix it, then what can happen a lot of times is this angle needs to match from the peg head to here, needs to match. If it's too far down, then what'll happen is there'll be a gap between the string and the nut on this back side, and it'll make a rattle over there. So let's just pull that string out. What I want to look at first, and so here's what I do. I'll kind of hold it at an angle like this, which is the goal angle, and we'll just give it a clean out there. Again, I'm just using the weight of the file. Okay, that actually fixed it a bunch, but it still needs to go just a little more. So we'll just go. Trying to flatten it out just a little. Still got a little bit of a ping to it. I don't like that, so let's just go a little bit more. And I'm not taking a lot of material out of here. All I'm trying to do is kind of reshape the slot so that it's flatter and it matches this angle better. I think that's fixed. Now what I want to do is double check the height of the nut again to make sure that we didn't go too low. Yeah, see, we only took 0.02 out of there to do that, so that's perfect. So now that rattle is gone. There might have just been a manufacturing burr in there that we ended up cleaning out and then just kind of touched it up a little bit. No big deal. Cool, man. Yeah, it feels nice and smooth. We don't have that annoying ping on the G string. And I think we're back to good. So let's talk about this a minute, because there's going to be a lot of people, I understand, you're going to get in the comments and you're going to say, well, I bought a guitar for X amount of dollars and it didn't have that problem, therefore it's better than this guitar. That very well could be. What happens a lot of times, one of the things I think we just need to understand as a whole, when it comes to more inexpensive guitars, is that there's going to be less time given to those finer points. Okay, that's just kind of how it is. Does that mean that you're always going to get a bad one? Does that mean that you're always going to run into this problem? No, because the majority of them are probably good, right? But it also lends itself to a little bit of inconsistency because we have, like we said, inconsistency or lack of time spent on the processing of the lumber before the guitar is made. So it has a tendency to move around more after it's made. That's really a thing. That's science. I'm not making that up. And then the other thing is, when the mechanized processes are used to do what we need to do, like go down the side of a neck, but not take the actual hand time with each fret afterwards, you're going to run into that sometimes. You're probably going to get a good one most of the time, but you're just going to run into that once in a while. It just happens. It's just kind of part of it. Same thing with the way they slot the nut. It just had a little burr in there, I think. It just had a little irregularity. No big deal. We didn't have to change the spec of anything. We just kind of cleaned it out and just kind of reshaped it. These are all things that can be done with very inexpensive tools. You could just use a feeler gauge instead of I have the StewMac nut height gauge here, okay? And then I use the StewMac fret files. If you don't want to buy a set of expensive fret files, one of the things you can do is take the cutoffs of your strings and, like, I don't know, rub them on concrete or something and make them a little rough. And then just use those to clean out the nut slots if you have this sort of a problem. It doesn't work exactly perfectly like a file does, but it's also free because you just use the cutoffs, or when you change strings, just keep some of the old ones, make them a little rough. The wound ones will do it on normal, but the smooth strings, just make them a little rough somehow with some sandpaper or on concrete or something, and then just run it through that nut slot to clean that out. It'll be free and you won't have that issue. I would definitely recommend buying that little file from StewMac. It's like 15 or 20 bucks. Keep it in your kit. And then from now on, especially if you're into import guitars and the less expensive guitars like this, you're going to run into that from time to time, right? So just have that tool around and it will make your life so much easier. If you want to mod a Strat like this, you can go to DylanTalksTone. We have these really cool custom pickup covers now. We're actually making acrylic topped Stratocaster pickups, which is really, really cool. Plus we have the normal stuff, right? Like the black, the white, the cream, the normal, stuff that you would put on a Stratocaster, as well as a lot of this crazy stuff. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about Strat setup, about Strat anything, or guitar stuff in general, put it in the comments and we will try to get to it. And we will see you in the next video. Oh yeah, like and subscribe and do all the stuff and click the links. Thanks for hanging out.